And that's the kind of stuff I really wanted to take in. So I stay super psyched even through the kind of miserable weeks or sometimes months that occur in between.
Okay, don't go anywhere. Hang on just one sec, and we'll be right back.
If you want to learn how Rob and Kim leverage technology to create the income, time, and freedom to regularly travel from one jet-set destination to the other using their proven system, you can claim your risk-free trial membership to Jet Set Money by going to getjetsetmoney.com. Here's Rob.
Okay, so you land, I know you've been everywhere, but let's just take, just sort of, for illustration purposes, let's just take Buenos Aires. So you land, was it BA that you went? BA in Argentina?
Yeah.
Okay. So you land in BA, you're there for the first time, you go through, sort of your 2-week startup, ramp up, this is freaking me out phase. You're looking around for an apartment or a youth hostel, or how do you have it set up?
I gave myself, in Argentina, 48 hours to find a place to live. And I try to do it with as little internet intervention as possible, because everything's so easy if you go through the internet, but then you get kind of a whitewashed experience. You see what everybody else sees. So I basically spent those 48 hours walking the streets of Buenos Aires, barely speaking a word of Spanish, and trying to find a place to live. Kind of just looking at the pictures on buildings to figure out where I go to find an apartment that they'll rent to gringos, and then finding somebody there who spoke English, thankfully, who could deal with it. And that's kind of the process that I've repeated. I kind of just walk around, try to figure out the place, force myself to talk to people. And that's a great way to learn a place, to really have to get your hands dirty and to wear off your shoes a little bit, to wear them down. Just by walking the streets.
So, there are some people that wouldn't dare going out on the weekend without having a reservation in a restaurant, let alone taking a trip and not having a hotel. You literally flew into a place with no place to stay and just figured it out from there and didn't even want to use the internet. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, it's totally possible. That's the thing. And different strokes for different folks. A lot of people that would drive them absolutely crazy to do it the way that I do it. But for me, I hate to have a really structured plan, because then it doesn't feel like vacation. It feels like work. It feels like I have an agenda. And the entire point of this was to get away from those 120-hour work weeks, still make as much as I was making before, but just, have more play, turn life into kind of this exploratory experience. So leaving it flexible like that and just kind of taking things as they come, not having a hotel, not having an apartment when I arrive, but being able to roll with the punches. So if I meet somebody on the plane who knows of a person, who knows of a place, I can take advantage of it without, losing a down payment on anything.
This must be very interesting conversation for somebody that bumps into you on the plane and says, "Hey, where are you going?"
It's usually a very long story when people ask what I do.
Yeah, now. I can only imagine. All right, so to be able to do what you're doing, you have narrowed down the amount of things that you have. You talk about minimalism and how you've been able to reduce everything that you own down to 50 things. In fact, when I was doing some research for this interview, I saw that you were interviewed by a local news station, I think it was in New Zealand, about how you have this all, narrowed down to just 50 things. Can you kind of explain a little bit about that and why you came up with that strategy?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, at first, when I initially left the country, it was kind of a practical thing where I didn't want to have to pay rent on an apartment in LA when I wasn't living there. I didn't want to have to pay car insurance. I basically just wanted to get rid of all the clutter, everything I wasn't going to be using. And I realized that if I got rid of it, then I'd have no choice but to go through with the crazy-ass plan that I had come up with. So I had nothing to go back to. But then as I got rid of stuff, I kind of realized that philosophically this really aligned with what I believe. I've always loved minimalist design. I've always been a fan of reducing rather than adding as a designer in order to make things more intuitive and communicative. And as I started to build my life around that concept and get rid of more and more stuff, I realized, okay, well, I'm getting more done because I'm not worrying in the back of my mind that I might have parked my car in a bad place. And then that's one investment. That's money just sitting out there in public, waiting to be stolen or broken or whatever. I don't have all these extra clothes, so I have to decide between 80 different shirts every day. It's not that kind of lifestyle that I wanted to be living. So traveling on a practical level, I knew that I wouldn't be able to carry much with me anyway if I was going to be jumping around quite a bit. So I wanted to reduce everything down to what would fit in one carry-on bag. It was a pretty sizable carry-on bag, and they don't let you carry it on everywhere. But since then, I've reduced it further When I went to Argentina, I was down to about 72 items. And right now, I've got 54 actually. I picked up a couple new pairs of underwear when I was in New Zealand, important things like that. But basically, now that I've reduced it down this far, I find that I'm far more focused and I worry far less about having to keep up with the Joneses, I guess, as it is, which I always felt in LA. You have to wear a certain thing when you deal with a certain crowd. You have to have a certain caliber of wristwatch. You have to have a certain caliber of car. And now I invest a whole lot more of my time and money in experiences rather than stuff. I still like to have nice things, but I'd much rather have a great experience.
Yeah, I think what's important to understand here is that we're not talking about being like Jim Jones in Ghana and drinking Kool-Aid. We're talking
No.
we're talking about a very practical setup of elimination of things, which will allow you to not only travel more effectively, but it'll also allow you to live your life without the clutter.
Yeah, and to have nicer things, honestly. Because if you don't have a bunch of crap that you barely care about, then you have only stuff that you do care about, and you can take that money you would have spent on the other stuff, or that effort or the time to earn it, and invest in something really nice. I always have a really nice computer. That's something that I must always have. So the tech that I have is usually very high quality because that's something I care about. That's how I earn my money. It's something that I enjoy having. Same with clothes. I like having nice clothes. I don't have as many as I used to, but the clothes that I do have are much higher quality and higher in value in my mind because they serve their purpose much better. So not having that excess clutter really helps you appreciate the stuff that you do appreciate more as well.
Yeah, you're increasing quality instead of quantity, which is one of the things when I travel to Europe that I see people walking through the street. We just got back from Italy a couple of months ago, and just walking around the streets, you see people so well dressed. And I was like, how do they afford the Prada and the Gucci? And, my Italian friend said, you know what? They got one amazing suit that they wear a lot.
Yep.
Which there's something to that. We're in America, we're just so, we just have such volume. We're constantly giving stuff, to Goodwill because we can't fit it in our closets. So I'm picking up what you're putting down. So So let's talk a little bit about, out of all the different places that you've been to, I'm sure you have your opinions, and I know I hate getting asked this question, but I'm going to go ahead and ask it to you anyway. Out of all the different places you've been to, which one do you like the most, and which one do you like the least?
Okay, well, the least is easier. I had a really bad time in Lima, Peru. It might have been the circumstances. I was on my way through Lima for a few days en route to Bogota, Colombia. People I was going to meet up with there, but for the 2 days that I was in Lima, there's transportation strike started. Mm-hmm. So it got pretty bad. They were actually stoning buses and pushing buses full of people off of cliffs if they bribed bus drivers to drive them and stuff. So if they broke ranks of the protest, people were dying and getting very badly hurt. So I was stuck in Lima in a part of town that was just so touristy, which is something that I just can't stand. I like to get the nitty-gritty real life kind of thing. And the only real life nitty-gritty kind of place nearby was a place where everybody was getting shot. Like, there were people getting shot every night. Mm-hmm. So I decided to not get that nitty-gritty. So I had to stay in the tourist area where all there was to eat was Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, Burger King. It wasn't like traveling, except everybody was very short. So I ended up being there for almost 2 weeks instead of the 2 days that I had planned, and it cut me off from the rest of South America, the rest of my trip. Mm-hmm. And I got punched in the face at a gay dance club as well in Lima, which
by the way,
was really upsetting.
That should be the title of your next blog post. I got punched in the face in a gay club in Lima.
That is actually the exact title of the blog post I wrote about.
Oh, you're kidding! You're kidding! I was going to say that sounds like a brilliant blog post. That's so funny.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where I have just really bad associations with Lima. Other people